A Pirate's Tale is a quest introduced in the Summer Update 2020. Nowadays, most people don't complete it, mainly because they just want to get access to the exotic cave, which you get through this quest, or for Pirate's Access, which is also part of it. But there is more than that. It is currently the only source of skin changes for the level 200 summons of each vocation, and it was also the first mount where you can customize the colors. It has a boss with some interesting item drops and other bad ones, and it's also how you can get the Raccoon Outfit, which I don't know about you, but I personally like it. So this quest guide will cover all of it, but if you are only interested in doing it up to a certain point, then use the chapters of the video. Now for starters, the level recommended depends on your goal. Exotic bags recently got the damage buff twice, so it's not so much of a very low level spawn. You could still do the access on a level 50 to 100, but I will say over 100 is somewhat safe. If you want pirates, then perhaps aim for level 250 depending on the vocation. And lastly, for the boss, it depends on the team, but I will say level 350 average. To start the quest, look for Stocio in Benor, near the boat. Ask him for a mission and he will need you to gain his trust first, which you can get after getting 1500 points from pirate raids. Ask him for an orb and flintstone, as you will need these for some of the raids. These only happen in 5 places in Tibia, with no order in particular. If you ask Stocio for the location, he will tell you where it is, but only when it is active, which the duration of a raid is dependent on its completion, and once it's completed, then a raid will happen 30 minutes after that. If you're doing this by yourself and there is no competition for the raid, then you can keep a good track of the time and get your points quick. Each raid will grant 300 points, but this is split based on participation of players, so if you are alone, you will get all 300 points most likely, but if somebody else kills some monsters, they will receive points based on that. Also, there is 3 types of raids that can happen. The ship attack is by far the easiest and ideal for low levels, as all you need to do is use a pick on a stone to get boulders and then charge up the catapults and light them up, for a total of 6 points each full action. The next one is quite simple, it's just about killing pirates. This can be a bit tricky for low levels. I was able to do it on a level 60 paladins with high skills, but you should do one at a time if you are low level. Be aware that they will disappear if you lure away from the shore, and each kill will grant 3 points. As for the last raid, it's the easiest to go unnoticed because it happens on the water. If you don't see the ship or pirates, then it means that this is the current raid. You will need to use the orb in the water to create walkable squares, and then you can go into the sea. There you will find pirates. These will not move, so they can be quite easy for low levels if you stay at range, and you simply need to kill them for 5 points each kill. So if you were to get all the raids for yourself, it will take a minimum of 5 raids, for a bit over 3 hours duration, given the cooldown in between and the time it takes per raid. This is definitely a big commitment, but it's worth doing for access to the exotic cave, which you will get as soon as you get the 1500 trust points with Stocio. If you want to keep track, you can also ask him for status at any moment. And the first mission he gives you after you gain his trust is to investigate the pirate's hideout, which is inside of the exotic cave in Isabi. Once inside of the exotic cave, follow this path into -2, and on the northeast you will find an opening into the pirate's hideout. This is where I will recommend to be over level 200, to clear your way in somewhat safe. Follow the path through the cave, and eventually you reach the island of Rascacoon. Look for the Kitake on the left side of the island, and just like the previous mission, he will ask you to gain his trust first. There is 3 different tasks you can do for this, but additionally, now that you have discovered Rascacoon and talked with the NPC, you are able to take the boat back to the Benor and come back through Stocio by saying shortcut. Now for the task to gain trust in Rascacoon, the first and simplest one is the memory test. On the north side of the island, you will find an opening into the mountain, and once you enter, the task will begin. In the middle of the room, it will show a specific pattern with the shells and starfishes. Then it disappears, and you will need to stand within the slice that matches the pattern you saw. If done correctly, you will gain 5 trust points and a new round begins. However, if you got it wrong, it will kick you out from here. This task has a total of 10 rounds for 50 points. It can also be repeated every 2 hours, which is why it's the preferred way to get your trust points, since it doesn't require others and is simple to do. The next task, that also doesn't require people but is harder to complete, is the stealth mission. Inside the pirate's hideout, on -2 you will find this teleport. Here you need to follow this path while not getting caught by the pirates. The guards will stand still, but the patrols move around. Walking in front of either of them will catch you. Additionally, there is also guards on top of the stones, and you need to wait for the lights to go off before going through. I personally have never done this task. I always fail pretty quickly, but it might be a fun minigame for some of you. If you do complete it, then you will get 200 trust points, and this can be repeated every 20 hours. Next up is the cheese mission. The teleport to this is near the middle, and is a task that needs to be done with other players. At least 3 or 4 minimum. Once you go in, click on the chest, and grab the staff from the ground. Here the goal is to push the cheese on the room into this trap, while keeping the rats away from eating them. So it's recommended to push the cheese that are near the middle, and kill the rats on the sides. In order to get rid of them, you need to hit the rats with the staff first, and then they become attackable pirates. Or you can rest the rats as an Ike and lure them into these stone piles. Ideally, you want to have one person do the pushing while the others deal with killing the pirates. If completed successfully, you will get 200 points, and it can also be repeated every 20 hours. This is how people commonly get their points since it is slightly faster, but if you can't find people interested in the task, then your best option will be the memory task. Regardless, once you gain 1200 trust points, you can proceed with the quest. Ask Tiki-Take for the mission and he sends you off to fight Tentugly. Take the teleport on the southeast side of the island, and this will be a mini-boss that can be done with up to 5 people. It's not a difficult one, in fact it can be soloed by a high level, but you need to kill it within the time limit of 8 minutes, and that requires more people or to be a high level. For this fight, attack Tentugly's head, and after you do about 20% of its HP, it will hide, and now you must get rid of its tentacles one by one. These are found in both floors, so you can split off for these to be more efficient. Then Tentugly will reappear and now you can finish him off. This boss drops mainly creature products varying in price, with the most notable drop being the plushie of Tentugly, but additionally it can drop a cheese key which will be needed for the mission to get the summons skins later on. So at the very least you will need to repeat this boss until you get the key, or somebody from your group does, since it can be shared. Once you defeat Tentugly, you get the Krokoloss mount and access to the Wreckoning, which is the main spawn for the pirates, decently big in size with 2 main floors that are quite good for profiting on low levels, making it also quite contested. You get there simply by talking to the NPC next to the level room for Tentugly, by saying hi, sail, save, yes. Additionally, here is where you find the main boss of the questline, Ratmiral Blackwhiskers. You will need to go up on the mountain following this path up until you get to the teleport for the level room. This boss can be done with up to 5 people with a 20-hour cooldown, and the damage in this fight can get very high, so it's highly recommended to carry Necklace of the Deeps as the heavy attacks are life drain. If you are over 500, then simply garlic necklaces work too. Upon pulling the lever, you will be at a room with pirates on the sides and elite pirates spawning constantly, but also a mini boss called Rat-Eye Rick. This one stays out of range and cannot be killed, so have the get rested for the aggro, and then somebody needs to push the rum barrel from the right side towards the gate next to the weak spot. If people stand near them, the attack from the artillerist will damage the barrel, and once it explodes, it brings down the weak spot down to red HP. But a much faster way to get rid of the barrel is to make Rat-Eye walk towards it once it's in front of the weak spot, and it instantly blows it up. However, you will still need 2 barrels to open the path north. Next up, go inside towards the boat, and here you find Mr. Cat Killer. Just attack him until he retreats, and take the ladder up. Here you will encounter another mini boss, the first mate Radicals. Same as before, continue to AoE to deal with the pirates and then attack him, until he also retreats at half HP, and now the actual boss will appear. Here the goal is still the same, attack the boss while avoiding the waves. Optionally, if you want to be even safer, if you click on the barrel with water, you will get charges that reduce the damage from the wave. Additionally, there is also artilleries on the sides, so if you spread out, it's less damage on the shooters. Or optionally, some people like to stack up on the southwest, as the anchor acts as an obstacle for the artillerists to hit through. The method you want to go for depends on the levels of your team, so be mindful of that. Once the boss reaches half HP, he will summon the mini bosses you face already, and you should AoE them down again. Keep in mind they always respawn in the middle, so ideally the shooters should be away from there. This phase can also get dangerous on the night if he is low level, so be careful and still use the life drain protection. And continue to focus on damaging the boss and the summons until it dies. This boss has a lot of drops, from equipment pieces, weapons, and add-on items. The most valuable drops in my opinion will be the boots for druids or MS, since they are quite rare but pretty decent. Next maybe the exotic amulet, which I have seen go around for 10kk. And lastly the add-on items, the soap and a scrubbing brush. Everything else is pretty bad. They will seem expensive, but it's simply because of scarcity. Their actual uses are questionable and you will be lucky if you sell them. Unfortunately, their stats are focused towards low levels since the requirement is from 130 to 150, but the difficulty of the boss doesn't match that requirement. Also, they are not common enough, especially to overpay for them. Now that you have defeated the Ratmiral, you can report back to Tiki-Take and receive the Rascacoon Outfit. Optionally, if you wish to continue doing tasks for more trust points, or even continuing to kill a Ratmiral gives you 100 points, you can now use them to trade with Tiki-Take for a variety of decoration items or the Raccoon backpack. Now for the final part, for the summons skins, this is the Hidden Treasure mission, which is part of the Journey task. You can do this as a regular task like the cheese or memory ones for trust points, but it requires other players as well and is less common to do. Additionally, in order to even get the skins, somebody must bring a cheese key, and that can only be found from Tentugly or other players. First, you need to go to the current black market in Liberty Bay. Open this chest to find a letter from Rita. Look for Larry the Parrot and ask about Rita, and he will tell you about her brother Sniff, who you find in Benor. Say hi, help, and he sends you to POH, and you will need to get inside this lake and follow this specific path to reach the barrel at the end. If you step on the wrong square, you get attacked by the sharks and sent out of the water. Once you get to the barrel, you get a bag of smuggled goods and bring that to Sniff. The next NPC you need to find is in the Menor Swamp southeast of Sniff. Say hi, help, and the mission will be to get something from Nostalgia. Say hi, house, and he will let you enter his house in Menor to go get it. Open the drawer and deliver this to Reclet. Now for the last NPC, go looking for Queso in the Dice prison, where you start the Inquisition quest, and here you will find inscriptions on the wall. And with all of this done, now you have the information for the Hidden Treasure after the Journey task. The teleport is accessed in the northeast of the island, and is recommended 2 or 3 players minimum. Bring magic and 3 walls for this task. The mission here is to protect the supplies from the attackers and obstacles. You will have a counter under your name that shows how many are left. First off, to move the raft, you need to lure the Gust of Winds into the middle square, and for this you should use the wall runes. Then as you're sailing, the captain will let you know of what's coming up. This can happen at any order at random. For the water elementals, simply kill them with energy or death. For the sea serpents, you can simply ignore and try to avoid their beams. For the quarras, your EK needs to be quick and rest them to stop their attacks on the supplies, and kill them as fast as you can. For the termites, you also need to kill them quickly to avoid them damaging the raft HP. And lastly, a bunch of trash will come from the water, for which you need to pay attention to the left side, and whenever you spot one that can hit the raft, use the cannons and destroy them. Continue this and survive the journey for 10 minutes, and then you're taken to this secret island. Click on this thing to go through, and then with the key in your backpack, click on the dragon chest and you will receive the skin for the summon, and a figurine of your summon as well. As for the gold chest, it gives you a random creature product. With this, the quest is complete, and so is this video guide. If you find it helpful, consider subscribing. I make mostly hunting guides, but also quest videos sometimes. Let me know in the comments which quest should I cover next. Thank you for watching, and until next time.